Greetings, amazing people, and welcome to a new episode of Bad Thought Therapy. Happy New Year. It is January 1st, 2025. Don't forget our slogan in 2025. We will thrive. Every year I come up with a slogan that rhymes. And so this year it is in 2025. We will thrive. I hope you're well. I have decided to start this first day of this new calendar year with doing things that I love to do. So I'm doing a podcast. I've already done a little walk this morning, and I'm going to be doing some reading and some writing and just some dreaming and, setting some goals. And so I want you to do the same thing. I'm so thankful for everything. Just so thankful for the many blessings that the Most High God has bestowed upon me. But I want to thank God for my daughter because she was telling me, Mom, I don't want you to work on New Year's this year. Don't do any work on New Year's. And this might be the first New Year that I'm not working. Like I'm not doing something just to, like I got to do it. And I'm so thankful for that message. I received that message and I am following that message. And I want to encourage you to do as much relaxing as you can. Try to read something, try to write something, try to set some goals, write down your goals, write down your dreams. And that's how you begin to manifest things. And I'm so thankful that that's what God has blessed me to be able to do. Today's episode is going to be about Beyonce Knowles Carter. If you are just arrived from Mars or Jupiter, you probably didn't know about this performance. Just absolutely an example of excellence that Beyonce Knowles Carter did on Christmas Day in her hometown of Houston, Texas. There was a football game. She did the halftime show. I think the Ravens won that game, so the Texans lost. But nevertheless, I want to talk about the spiritual lessons that we can learn from the public persona of Beyonce Knowles Carter. And again, I don't know her personally, and I've learned that you may think you know a person, and when you really get to know them, you see a different side. And that can be both good and bad. I've met people that I knew from afar, and then when I really got to know them, they were more beautiful and wonderful than I ever imagined. And then the other side, I've had it where I, saw the dark side, I saw the ugliness. I'm like, wow. So I don't know her personally, but I do know that my daughter has been started listening to her when she was like in middle school, I believe. And so I started listening because I was one of those parents that I want to listen to what my daughter was listening to. And when Beyonce was with Destiny's Child, I would listen to the music, and I've seen Beyonce progress and grow and evolve from afar. And I'm a fan. I'll say this, I'm a fan. And so I want to just talk about some lessons though, some life lessons, some spiritual lessons, because, some people use metaphors for life, and they may say, life is a game. I believe life is a classroom, and we are students, and every day God is trying to teach us something. And it's our job to get the lesson. It's our job to learn. And we use what we've learned to empower not only ourselves, but to empower others, to give to others. And that's what Beyonce has done. This is what I absolutely love about her, because I'm a businesswoman too. I love the fact that all of her blessings that she has received, she finds a way to share those blessings with others in the business. Whenever she puts on a performance, whenever she's doing, I guess, her tour, whatever, she finds a way not only to empower herself, but others. And that is very, very powerful. We need cooperative economics. I can talk so much about that, but I won't. But let's continue learning and growing together. And it's, again, Happy New Year. I hope you and your family are well. We're going to continue this podcast on the spiritual lessons that we can learn from Beyonce's halftime show performance on Christmas Day here in the United States. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. While I have your attention, I just want to remind you that I am on social media. Bad Thought Therapy is on Instagram and Facebook. The handle is at Bad Thought Therapy. And we are also on X, which was known as Twitter. And the handle is Lose, Lose, Bad Thoughts. So you can definitely connect that way. I have a YouTube channel that is slowly growing. So you can subscribe. These videos are just PowerPoint presentations, so they really are for listening. Actually, You can listen while you walk. You can listen while you work. You can just listen in your car. So that's I've created them where there's not a lot of visuals, but I just feel compelled to just share some spiritual life lessons that I learn. As I learn, I just share. I'm a teacher and I'm a student. And as I said before, my metaphor for life is that life is definitely a classroom, and we have multiple teachers. You have strangers that teach you things. You have people that you know well in your family that teach you things, and there's so much we can learn. So I started listening to Beyonce when she was with Destiny's Child. My daughter got one of the albums, Destiny's Child albums. She even had a poster in her bedroom when she was growing up. And I sort of followed this entertainer, and there were so many things that I really admired. And number one is Beyonce seems to be a person that's not, she's not going to allow herself to get too distracted with a lot of drama. And that's a great lesson for us, because one of the tools that the enemy, our spiritual enemy, uses is distraction. We get so distracted with a problem, with a problematic person, with a hater, with an agitator, that we're not fulfilling our purpose. And y'all, yours truly is an example of that. Sometimes you're letting yourself think too much about a person who, we want to be understood. We don't want people to think we're arrogant, but sometimes we want people to understand us, and we're doing our job with a level of excellence, and we're getting the results to prove that. But you still have people that are like agitators. And so you have to be careful, because you can get so distracted with that and thinking about that that you're not producing. And this year, my message to everybody that either text me or wish me or call me Happy New Year, I was like, this year you will have the best productive and prosperous year. That was my thing. Your year will be prosperous and productive. And to be productive, you can't let distractions get the best of you. And so that's a life lesson for Beyonce, because if you get that level of fame and then you marry a very famous person as well, of course you're going to have people that, create drama. You're going to have trolls. Life isn't perfect, no matter who you are. Rich people go through the same things people that don't have any money go through. It's just that rich people, their stuff is usually in the public. Now with social media, your entertainer and everything you go through is now out in the open, and that is the dark side of success. And so that comes with that level of fame. But nevertheless, that's one life lesson we can learn. Beyonce has not let things distract her. When she did Lemonade, she was deserving of Album of the Year. When the Grammys did not honor her with that award, I thought that was shameful. I really did. And I would never look at the Grammy organization the same, because I think in the music business, we thought, okay, the Grammy is like the ultimate, most distinguished award. Now that so much has come out about the music industry, we've learned, or the entertainment industry in general, we've learned that, first of all, we don't understand things. Number two, there's a lot of politics and there's a lot of darkness in that business. And there are people that get into that business, and I don't know how to describe it, but I would say from looking in, it looks like they're trying to be puppeteers. They're trying to control the people and the narratives, because if they do, they will get to control the money. Anytime you are trying to understand something, always follow that money. And there are people who, they can't sing, they can't dance, they don't entertain, but they are shrewd business people, and sometimes in a very evil way, and they will know how to do things to keep the money coming back to them. I could write a book, and that's why I said I'm not going to get distracted, because I plan on writing some of these books for somebody to know, like, this business can be corrupt. But when they didn't give her that award, I did a podcast on this. I learned something and I thought about it. There's a difference between award and reward. And what you have to do, and this is the spiritual lesson we can learn from Beyonce, is that you have to understand you're not going to get all the awards you deserve. That award, the Grammy should go to the best artist. And the fact is, it doesn't. It doesn't. That doesn't happen. She was deserving of it. She didn't get it, but it didn't stop her. In the news yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw this. I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw a headline that said a judge right here in Georgia had committed suicide. And then when I did a little bit of research, but I didn't get too deep into it, apparently he did this because he did not win the election. I said, oh my goodness. He lost by a 6% margin. And I guess he felt like he should not have lost his seat because of it was just 6%. But those are the rules. They have been the rules of the game. If you lose a basketball game or football game, by 1 point, you've lost. But you keep going. And so the life lesson is you will lose. And you will not get everything good you deserve. You will not even get everything bad you deserve, right? Because of God's grace. But you don't let that distract you. You don't let that destroy you. And that's what many people do. And that's why I really admire Beyonce, because she didn't get it. When the CMAs, I remember watching her perform on the airing, or like video clips of when she performed at the country music awards ceremony, when she did the song on Lemonade. That was a country song, considered a country song. And the camera panned out into the audience. And some of those expressions were nasty. They could not contain their hatred for her. I mean, it was literally visible hate. And she just kept singing. She kept doing her thing. And that's a life lesson, y'all. Is that easy to do? No, but she is very fortunate, like some of us are, to have a very good support team. You need a cheerleading squad. And when your cheerleading squad is doing its job, you're going to always make it. You're going to come right through. And so she has that cheerleading squad. She has people that love her. And I'm sure that she focuses on them. And guess what? She just continued to go. And she produced this album now that she performed at the halftime show, Country Carter. Again, the CMAs did not recognize her at all. Now I understand that they didn't recognize the album because the music was sort of blurred, it was blended, right? But for Texas Hold'em, come on now. And she is a country girl. That's the thing. When Beyonce first came on the scene, everybody was sort of critical of her countryness, and I thought it was beautiful. But nevertheless, she is a country girl. Do you know they did not even honor and recognize that particular single at all? Shame on them. Again, they're not real. And the bottom line is, now, I don't even respect them as an organization. You can't respect any organization or institution that does not recognize the best. And she was the best. Texas Hold'em changed people's lives, just like Lemonade, and they didn't honor her. But guess what? Did it stop her? No, it did not. And that is the greatest spiritual lesson. Another powerful lesson is, I'm a business owner, and I admire Beyonce as a businesswoman because she gets it. The only way that you maintain your business is through something called cooperative economics, where you have a blessing, you empower other people, and the money should be in a circle in our community. And Beyonce practices that. All these so-called religious people that have been critical of her and spent more time talking about her than talking about Jesus, they don't practice cooperative economics. You can talk about Jesus all you want to, but people still got to have a place to stay. They still need water. They still need electricity. They still need their car to run. They got to have car insurance, and we keep going. And they don't practice any of that. And that's what she does, because anytime she does an album or a performance, she brings on other people, they get involved. And that's an economic opportunity for them. And that's how you thrive in business and how you grow in business. Here's an example, a personal example. When we were in business, we realized, okay, we got to sell more than books. We started selling t-shirts. The t-shirt lady was putting out a lot of t-shirts. She was putting out so many t-shirts that she ended up quitting her job at a point. And we were sharing the economics because we were buying t-shirts from her and selling them. She was making a profit. We were making a profit. And that's how business works. You share your profits. Some people, like, for example, with books, they go into business, they make a book, but they don't understand the business part. If you're not willing to share the economics, you're not able to grow in business. And so I just want to put that out there. This is so critical and so important that people understand that. And that's what she does. In this halftime show, the people who had the cars, the people who had the horses, the other singers that she had with her, There were two male singers. She brought the young ladies out who sang Blackbird with her on the album. All these people, the band, from Texas Southern University, she brought out the owners, everybody involved. It was beautiful. She puts all this together. She directs this. She produces this. And a team of people, of course, help her execute it. But that's how she thinks. And that's how you get blessed. If you're living on this earth and you're just living for yourself, then you're limiting. That's all I'm gonna say. And so the fact that she's always thinking about, okay, how do I help other people? This is her hometown. Houston is where she grew up. How do I empower the people? And that's what she did. And it's absolutely beautiful. And that's a life lesson. Ask God, and we all have to do this, ask God to give us clarity, to give us the right mind, to renew our minds, to cleanse our minds, to understand the things that He wants us to understand. We are not put on this earth just for ourselves. We are put here to help other people and empower other people. And that's what Beyonce Knowles Carter has done throughout her career. Now, when she did her album, Black is King, that became my favorite album. That it was close because I still sometimes go between Lemonade and Black is King. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And when she actually filmed many of the videos over in Africa, it was so beautiful. The visuals, the people. But do you know, I didn't know this at the time because I wasn't really active on social media. I found out that there were African people who were hating on her because she was showing the natural rural parts, the beautiful parts of Africa. They were ashamed of their own heritage, so to speak. And of course, we do know that Africa is modern and just like any other place in the world, some of the richest people in this world, on this planet, come from Africa. But yet, she chose to show the beautiful natural part, and they got upset. When I tell you, we have let some people, let me not put myself in this, some people have let other people have them hate themselves to the point where they are really hurting themselves and killing themselves, from bleaching their skin to putting all kinds of chemicals on their hair and to destroying their culture by not understanding that you are the first people on the planet. That's a scientific fact. And you will be the last people. And no matter what they come up with, you cannot be destroyed. I wish Africans would get it. I wish, oh God, Jesus, we got to pray for our people that all the resources in the world are there. And instead of you letting people come in and ravage your land, which you've already done, why not you empower African people? That's a spiritual lesson. And then you say, hey, you want to buy these diamonds, or you want to buy this ore, or whatever material that you are, we'll sell it to you. This is how much it costs. And hire your own people. They won't do that. Beyonce has done that. And that is amazing that she's done it because she's a powerful businesswoman. That's how it works. That's what other people have been doing for hundreds or thousands of years. And it's time for us to get it now. And my heart grieves. And I see it happening. Africa will not even be Africa probably in the next 50 years because people are coming, they're finding ways to lay hold of that land. The marrying, the having children, y'all, I won't probably be around. That's 50 years to see it, but just know that I said it on this podcast. It's going to happen. You're going to lose Africa again, and this time you won't be able to get it back because you don't practice the right kind of economics. And you have to remember, you got to take care of your community. And yes, you can sell your stuff out to other people, but you got people over there just, oh man, I'm just let that go. I don't want my blood pressure to go up on New Year's. Okay. But that's a spiritual lesson. Cooperative economics and learning how to hire people in your community. And it still blesses people outside of your community. The NFL made money. Netflix made money. But also the business owners in her community made money. That's how it's supposed to be. And don't miss that. Especially if you're a business owner, I'm telling you, it is the best way to be. And if we could have kept that going, if we had people practice cooperative economics with us, I probably would have still had my business full time. Now, I don't regret anything. I praise God for things happening the way it happened because I trust God and I surrendered to God's will. And you know that old saying, if it's God's will, it's his bill. So if anybody wants me to go into business again full time, then he'll have to, God will send me that money. That's how that's going to work. But nevertheless, I want to, that's another lesson. Again, one of the biggest lessons is don't let haters and people, trolls and people who have malintent in their heart, don't let them distract you. Continue to produce excellence, to continue to make sure that you are above the rest. And I don't know if Beyonce is like intentionally trying to be, I'm trying to be the best of the best. She is the best entertainer to ever breathe air. That's just a fact. No one can dance and sing at the same time like she can. No one has ever been able to do it. It's hard to believe when people were, there were all these crazy rumors online that Beyonce was on drugs. And I kept saying to myself, how can you be on drugs and sing and dance like that? I have never seen a drug addict in my life. And let me tell you something, I grew up seeing drug addicts, okay? I still see them today. But let me tell you, I've never seen drug addicts be able to do what Beyonce Knowles Carter has done. And that's hard to believe. And let me just say this, even if, let's say, something negative is true about a person, what we need to do, the spiritual lesson, is pray for them. Criticism is one of the most ineffective ways to create change. You're not going to create any change through criticism. Real prayer works. I'm going to tell you something. Whatever you see in this world that is bigger than you are, is greater than you are, you got to take it to God. Everything, I'm telling you, I take it to God. I see stuff in the news, in the world news, national news, local news. I take it to the Most High God. I release it, and there's power in that, and I've seen God move, and we have to continue to do that. When she did Renaissance, and I'm going to be honest, I really didn't listen to Renaissance. There was like one song that I liked on Renaissance, but I did have an issue with some of the lyrics of one or two of the songs. I didn't understand it. And I remember, like, it was viral, like ministers were taking time, instead of talking about Jesus, they were talking about Beyonce. They spent sermons after sermons talking about, I said, Lord, Beyonce is getting more attention than Jesus is. But I do understand some of the concerns, and it was a way they did it. What I felt like they should have asked God, they should have prayed for her. If the lyrics were controversial, and they were, one of the songs was very controversial to me and I didn't understand it, pray for her. I don't know why she felt the need to put that in her album, because it didn't seem characteristic of her. But I'm just going to say this, just pray. Just pray for her. So again, you're going to have haters. That's another life lesson. The other thing is, Beyonce is 43 years old. And at 43, she has her daughter dancing on stage with her. You've got, she's a wife. She's still a wife. She and Jay-Z, from what we know, are still married. She has 2 other children. That's hard to do, to carry on all those roles. And I know it has to be hard, but she is managing it. And I believe when she said, God bless you, I believe that Beyonce is a woman of faith. And she has been very open about that. And I think that's another spiritual lesson. You got people saying you worship the devil, you're in Illuminati and all this stuff. And and there have been videos done, and there are things that, okay, you do question, like, why is this there or why is that there? I don't believe you can choose to be a mother and a wife and to help other people, and you can be of the devil. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that. And that's another spiritual lesson, that while people are talking about you, just continue to maintain and practice your faith and your belief in a Most High God, and let God justify you. Let God be your judge. Let God be your spokesperson. Because I don't know any of these people personally. Like, I don't know Jay-Z personally. I don't know Beyonce personally. The only thing I can do is just, if I see something, I can see it with my eyes. And I learned when I was in the 10th grade, I'll never forget my English teacher, Mr. Williams. He's probably not with us, but God bless his wonderful soul. He said, we read like a Edgar Allan Poe story. I don't know, Telltale Heart, one of those. And he said, the life lesson in this is, the theme is, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. And I've never forgotten that lesson. And so I don't know what's going on, but I do know what I do see are spiritual lessons. Learn how to get the spiritual lessons. So let's recap. Number one is always produce excellence. God gets the glory when you produce excellence. Put excellence out there. I don't care what you're doing. Lawyer, doctor, dentist, accountant, you sweep floors for a living. You clean, you cook, whatever you do, do it with excellence. And what that excellence will do is keep bringing blessings to you. When you produce excellence, more people come to you. They want to come back and work with you because of what you produce, what you do. So never ever forget that life lesson. The other life lesson to recap is, as a business owner, you always want to not just get money for yourself, but you want to do everything you can to empower other people. And that's what Beyonce Knowles has done. Carter, she's done well. Whenever she does a big production, they say that she's very detailed. And I can see it. Like, look at the people that she's empowering. Now, Netflix and in the NFL, they're not black owned, and they've made some money. Everybody ought to make money, is the point I'm trying to make. If you're doing something and no one is getting anything out of it, then you got to question, okay, why am I doing this? Because it's not money sometimes, but it's greed. That spirit of greed is just something that's like a monster, and it can take over people. But what I love about Beyonce is that she always empowers other people. And if so many people in her community got involved, and they might not have been otherwise been involved, if she had not done that. And that's how it ought to be. And when I talk about Africa, it's the same thing. I'm so concerned, like, why are other people mining in your country? No, they need to be mining in their country. And what you need to do is sell your wares, and you let your people work and make money, and then you sell to them, they can make some money. And we're going to lose Africa again. And it just grieves my heart. The motherland, I pray for the motherland. I cry out for the motherland because I can see it happening. And they found other ways. Marrying people that you don't even like is another way to lay hold to their land. You got it. That's an old trick in the book, but that's another podcast. Again, I don't want my blood pressure to go up on New Year's. We'll let that go. But the whole point I'm trying to make is cooperative economics is how to bring greater peace and balance to the earth. I don't care what you do. Everything costs. It costs to have a place to stay. It costs to have clean water, electricity. It costs. And so everybody should be able to make a little money to be able to take care of themselves, and not just one or two people. And that system, it never works. It always creates problems and more problems and more problems. And it's going to always come back to the person who started it in a negative way. If it doesn't get you, get your descendants and your descendants. And so be mindful of that. The other life lesson, powerful spiritual lesson, this is a big one. Don't get distracted. Ooh, do not get distracted. The more success you have, the more problems, the more, drama, the more controversy, the more haters that you're going to have. It just comes with life. You can't, and it can, you got to be careful because it's easy to get distracted. Now, and as a spiritual person, you're reminded that it's not the person, it's not people, it's what's inside of them. And you can't forget that, but sometimes that's hard. When you let negativity, trolls, and haters distract you, you can't produce, you can't perform, you can't put out your best. And I mentioned this judge that allegedly committed suicide because he didn't win the election. Well, that loss could have been a win. You always say, okay, what's the lesson? Let me create something new. You know how many times Abraham Lincoln lost the Senate and he didn't win? I think he ran for president more than once. And this man became the 16th president of the United States of America and the most memorable. You're going to lose in life. I have not won every grant that I applied for. I have not, gotten everything I wanted. And c'est la vie. That's life. And so if you look at it as a lesson, sometimes you're not getting, let me tell you, sometimes not getting stuff is a blessing. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes the things you think you want that you don't get, that is a blessing. That is God's mercy on your life. There have been times I prayed for things to happen, and I marvel at this. I look back and I cringe, and I'm thinking I was praying for this thing to work, and now I'm praising God that it didn't work. I'm praising God that He got me out of it. Oh my goodness. Because again, sometimes you got to get what you don't want to know you don't want it. So don't get distracted. Understand there is a difference between awards and rewards. You may not get all the awards that you deserve, but you will be rewarded. God looks, honey, my great aunt used to say, I believe Foxworth, rest her beautiful, beautiful soul. God sits high and He looks low. God sits high and He look everything you do, God sees. And people miss this. So when you're operating with a spirit of excellence in your heart and in your mind, and you're producing that outwardly, God sees that. When you have the mindset and the spirit to help others, because ultimately, and this is my concern for the motherland is not helping its own people so many times because they're letting other people come in and take over instead of hiring their own people and then selling to those other people. And it's a trick when you call it, you say it's love. No, it's actually lust for money and natural resources. That's what it is. It's not love at all, and it's just breaking my heart. But again, don't be distracted. Don't let, I don't know why I got I'm on that so much this morning. I don't know what's going on. I gotta let that go. But yeah, you can't produce. I could have had at least 2 or 3 books done in 2004, 24, excuse me. But I let something distract me from my job. Why? And I'm telling you, since I've been off, I've been spiritually dealing with that thing. And God was like, I'm not going to give you rest. You're going to have to confront it. You're going to have to stand. You're going to have to put 10 toes down. You're going to have to stand on what you know. You keep trying to run and hide because I am a runner now. I'll delete. I'll quit and go somewhere else in a minute. And I can't do that. I can't keep doing that now, even though I still may do it. But nevertheless, sometimes you have to confront your situation, but you have to do it with respect. You have to do it with dignity, because, and then another thing is, you can't, this is the most powerful lesson, you can't let what other people think about you get to you. I know for me, I really worried about people thinking I'm arrogant, people thinking I'm not humble. What I realize now, looking back, is that I've always had sort of a sense of confidence. Like people see you as confident, and especially as Black people, if you act like you're confident and you stand on something you know that you know, I think people interpret that as you're being arrogant and you're not being humble. And I can't think of a person that I feel like I'm humble. I know I can't take my next breath without God. I know who I am. I'm nothing. I'm a granule of sand. And when I die, the earth is just going to keep rotating on its axis. And it's not false humility. When I used to tell it to my students, they say, "Oh, I don't believe you believe that." Yeah, I do. I know who I am. I'm nothing. But when I do what I do know, I think I've had an issue with sort of standing up for it because I didn't want to appear uncooperative or arrogant. And what I realized, I may have to, it's a form of protest, nonviolent protest. When things are wrong, you have to stand up against them. And sometimes doing that, you're all alone. You're by yourself. No one sees it. No one understands it. So you have to really, a great spiritual lesson from Beyonce. She has a lot of people talking about her. And it's coming from a lot of different directions. You have people within the industry. You had this whole thing about Jay-Z and Sean Combs, and was Beyonce on drugs, and now you got something about Blue Ivy not liking her. Just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And Blue Ivy is a teenager. Teenagers go through things, and they have to work. They're teenagers. They're going through their little moments, and you have to help them work through stuff. I'm a mother. I'm also an educator, and I understand you got to help kids go through their little teenage things where they think they know everything when they don't know anything. So, but you can't let what people say get to you. That's a great spiritual lesson. What matters in the end is what God says about you. And God sees your heart, and He sees the hearts of other people. And you got to pray that your heart is clean, that your mind is right, and you got to stand on what you know and let it go. Some people may believe it, some people may not, they may accept it, they may not, but you just got to stand on what you know that you know and let everything else go and ask God to bless you, ask God to help you. You cannot do anything without God's help. Excellence cannot come without God's help. When I was concerned because they were talking about Beyonce like being involved in darkness or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, if this is darkness, then no wonder everybody want to be in darkness, because I don't believe that. I believe that you can't have these kind of blessings without the Most High God. I don't believe it for a second. The devil will give people things, but you won't keep it. See, that's the difference. See, the enemy, the way he works is he gives people things, but they won't keep it. Beyonce has been consistent, and I know she's had people to pray for her, and the inner family probably, and even people outside. But you just have to remember, just know who you are. Just know who you are in God. Okay, y'all had to clear my throat for a second, but just know who you are in the Most High God. Because in the end of the day, his opinion matters, and you are going to make some decisions that people will not understand. They may misunderstand, and you just have to let it go. I think for me, that has really been a big issue for me. Always trying to get people to understand me and not think bad of me. As a teacher, I've always tried to have a level of excellence because I absolutely love what I do. I love children. I love teaching. I love the light bulb moments. When you've been in this position for as long as I have, you kind of get an idea of what works and what doesn't work. It doesn't mean you can't learn anything new, but what it means is that you just know what you know. And so I think I struggle with that because there are people trying to tell me what to do. And sometimes what they're telling me to do, I would fail if I did it. And that's just a fact. And people, and my point has been proven already. So I have to now say, okay, I'm going to have to do a nonviolent protest until I can get up out of there, and I love it. That's the thing. I love where I am. But sometimes you just have to realize some demons you just can't keep working with. And so it's just like that. But nevertheless, don't let it distract you. So those are some life lessons. There's so much more I want to say. Beauty and business and excellence all together in one. May God bless everything good that Beyonce Knowles does for her community, for the nation, for the world. Take some notes, y'all. Work hard. Like, she does work hard. And that's another thing. A lot of people, there's a story behind your glory. I remember that years ago, I taught this young man. He went on and he got it. He made it to the NFL. I taught a young man who was a football player. Learned a lot because in high school, that one year when I was at the high school where I taught for almost 20 years, we had a lot of great football players come through, and many of them got full scholarships to go to D1 universities. And some of them tried out for the NFL, and this young man actually made it. And I remember one time, before I knew who he was, I said something to him about being in the halls, and he said, "You don't know who I am?" I said, "No, I don't. Who are you?" He told me he was a football player. He said, "Come to one of my games." And I came, and it was the first time I'd ever gone to a football game at that high school. I've been working, shame to say this, but it's a confession. I've been working there for about 2 years, and I had never gone to a game at all. But I went to the football game, and I saw him. And what I learned from him is that, I saw this young man running down the field, jumping over people, having these wonderful plays. But what I learned is that behind all of that was a story. Because when I first saw it, it was hard watching him get hit. He was a running back. And I thought, wow, he's getting hit. But he said, what you don't see is when they hit me, they feel that. Because he was just solid muscle. And what we didn't see is him lifting those weights to have that body mass, that muscle mass on him, so that when he got tackled, they would feel that weight. We didn't see him practicing in the rain. We didn't see him practicing in the cold. The point is that we saw this beautiful production that Beyonce did on Christmas Day in Houston, But there was a lot of practice that went into that. Just like the movie she came out with, Homecoming, when she filmed what she had done at the big concert, Coachella is what it is, this big concert that was another amazing performance. But we see the glory of this performance. There's a lot of practice that goes into this. There is always blood. There are always tears. There is always sweat. Blood, sweat, and tears, and people are so critical or hateful of the performance or whatever she's doing, but this girl has worked hard. You cannot put on these kinds of productions. The one we saw at Coachella, the one for Black is King, all this stuff, unless you're willing to put in some work. And that is why I told my daughter that Beyonce had announced that she was going to do something in January, 2 weeks from now. And I said, I hope it's a Destiny's Child tour reunion. I'm going. I don't know. I don't spend over a certain amount for tickets for entertainers. But I'm like, I might have to go to this one. But she said, no, Mom, they wouldn't have that reunion because nobody has her work ethic. Who's going to get up and work that hard? And so I was like, oh darn, I'm going to miss it again. So that's the thing you need to understand, is that you got to work hard. As an educator, I used to, now I stopped doing this, but I used to work on the weekends. I do work when I came home. Like I worked and worked and worked, and I got the results that I got because I was willing to sacrifice a lot of time. And I don't work when I'm off though, but when I'm there, I would work. And now, that we did our last book fair at the mall, I have to restructure some things with my business. But I probably will work on the weekends a little bit more than I did before, But that I love doing that, and that's the thing. That's another lesson. When you love what you do, you're willing to work that hard for it. See, what you find the wheat and the tares, and the goat and the sheep, because of who's going to do the work. Everybody fantasizes about being on top of whatever field that they're in. Everybody wants to be there. Like, you want to be the best. If you want to be the best of whatever the best is, la creme de la creme. But not everybody is willing to do the work and sacrifice. And the thing that makes you do it is when you love it. I love teaching. And clearly God wanted me to keep teaching, because he that's that scene in what's that movie, Carlitos, where he said, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. It's like that. God wants me to keep doing this for a reason. I want to throw my hands up in the air and say, God, I'm just tired. I've been working for a long time, since I was a child. But he wants me to keep doing it, and I love it. But when you love it, that's the key. Find what you love to do, because if you love it, the spiritual lesson is you will put the time, you'll put the energy into it. You'll have that level of excellence that you need to have. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just spoke from my heart. I got to get where I take notes. My daughter's podcast is so good. She has all her notes and everything. I got to get like that, y'all. But I wanted to just share, there are some spiritual lessons. You have a lot of podcasters and content creators that are talking about, the performance, or then you got your haters out there. But I want to talk about the spiritual lessons. There are many that we can learn from the lives of people who have been very successful. So I hope this podcast blessed you. Peace and abundant blessings. Don't forget our slogan for 2025 and 2025, we will thrive. Wonderful family. This concludes this episode of Bad Thought Therapy. Thank you again for tuning in. Forgive me, I was sort of rambling at certain points. I was just speaking from my heart. I am going to get better for 2025, take some notes, and really do better with excellence in producing this podcast. Again, don't forget, you can contact me at badthoughttherapy@gmail.com. Peace and abundant blessings to each of you. Take care.